Hey guys, and welcome to 13 Nights of Frights, Night 7. So last episode I touched a bit on Mike Flanagan, the creator of The Haunting of Hill House TV show, and a bit about his wife, Kate Siegel, who stars in that show. So this is going to be another spotlight movie episode by also discussing a bit about this real life horror genre that I'm so intrigued about. And by real life I mean horror movies that are not paranormal, no demonic, no fantasy elements, that are all just set, that all could just happen in real life. That could happen to you, to me, to anybody. That's what this movie is all about. This is Hush. This film is an original script written by Kate Siegel and her husband Mike Flanagan. When I see an original film with an original screenplay, I just take a nice breath of fresh air because it is just so rare to come by in Hollywood these days. What do we see now in theaters? We see reboots, we see comic book adaptations, and yeah, that's it. Or we just see an extension of a universe, like the Star Wars universe, Marvel universe, and shitty ass DC universe. I get sick of it. I get tired of it, and I just want to see more originality, more creativity. And I saw this in this movie, and I was so excited to watch this, and was so happy that it was original, because I applaud any filmmaker, any screenwriter that put something out there like this and gets it made. So here's the story. A deaf writer secludes herself in her house in the woods. She's trying to get over her writer's block and come up with a new story. I like a movie that's set in the woods. I think I've mentioned this already. Something about the woods is just so terrifying. You're there alone in a house. You don't really have that many neighbors. Her neighbor Sarah lives a little bit farther down the road, but she's there by herself, and to me that's just scary. And I don't know how Maddie could just live here by herself and not be terrified that somebody could come out to get her, or there's going to be something in the woods that's going to try to attack her, which ends up happening in this movie. So as Maddie is sitting in her home trying to write her next novel, her neighbor is getting stabbed to death outside by this masked killer, and the man realizes, like, she's not coming to her friend's defense. Her friend is banging on the door, banging on the window, and she's just like ignoring her. So he's interested and intrigued that she's deaf, like she can't hear him, and this plays with his mind. And right off the bat, when he has that little look in his eyes, because he's masked, but he does take off the mask and eventually in the movie, but you could see that look in his eye, like, oh, he's gonna have fun with this girl. And just looking at that look in his eyes, like, I'm already excited. Like, oh, I'm excited for him, because this is gonna be interesting, because he thinks that he's gonna be able to fuck with her, but then as the events begin to unfold, he soon learns that it's not that easy. Like, all because she's deaf doesn't mean she can't rely on her other senses. Lesson learned. I love the concept of a deaf woman living alone in her home, and she's trying to figure out a way to outsmart this killer. How am I gonna survive? How am I gonna escape? And then during the movie we get like her subconscious version talking to herself, and then telling her, well, if you do this, you're gonna die. If you do that, you're gonna die. So how are we gonna survive? How are you gonna survive? And I really love that interaction that she has with her subconscious. What really makes me like this movie more is the fact that she's also a writer. I mean, this could happen to me. I'm not deaf though, but I could just imagine myself, like I do Like, I always thought of myself living in a house in the woods, and now I'm rethinking that after watching this movie. But yeah, I really kind of connected to this movie because she's a writer and she's going through writer's block like I am. Holy shit, this could happen to me. And I was talking to my best friend, and he was telling me that he is more terrified of realistic horror movies than gore movies. And I agree. Gore movies are just very too flashy for me. Okay, let's put all the blood and guts and heads coming off and all of this, like Saw movies, like those are more disgusting to me. I can't watch those. I mean, they don't scare me. They just put this nasty taste in my mouth, just like the Human Centipede movie. Ugh. I've only watched the first one, and I've only watched it once, and that will be the last time I ever watch it. He showed me a movie that I want to tell you guys about, a real life story that actually happened, called The Girl Next Door, directed by Jack Ketchum. So this girl and her sister are sent to live with this woman who is not related to her by any means. This woman has like a couple other kids, and she lives with them, and then she is soon tortured by this woman, and this woman enables her kids to do the same as well. And yeah, I don't want to go to graphic details because it's really fucked up, and you guys could look it up yourself. We have another classic horror film that is based on a true story, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I remember when people first told me that, oh, this is based on a true story. There's actually a family of cannibals that were taking people off the road and just eating them. And that to me, I couldn't wrap my head around that idea of that fact that these kind of people exist. I remember I was always kind of terrified of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, especially because of that one scene where he comes out of the shed or the basement and he hits that guy with a hammer or something, and then that whole scene where he's just like moving, his body is just jerking on the floor. Oh, that scene is so good. And then he just drags his body out of there and then slams the door. Oh, that scene is terrifying. I love that scene. There's so many disgusting people. There's so many vile human beings that aren't even considered human by doing these acts that exist. And movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre emphasize that. Also, The Hills Have Eyes emphasize that whole idea as well. Let me know if you prefer this subgenre of horror. Do you prefer these kind of movies over like the Saw movies and Hostel movies? Are you tired of the gore movies, or maybe you're tired of these kind of movies? No. Or maybe these movies are just kind of boring and fall flat for you. We all have a preference, and I love to know yours. So see you guys tomorrow for night 8.